Yeah, well, look, the big one obviously was published on Bloomberg, which was the Riot
Not cheap
Esports
esports
Network.
then. Okay, right.
Yeah,
Bloomberg,
but
right,
weirdly enough, no. I mean, obviously, in the future, our
Yeah,
spoil
of
will be
course.
working for
Yeah.
Bloomberg, so we can all appreciate his work then. But Cecilia D'Anastasio, who obviously has impeccable sourcing on
He did
Riot
the
Games.
original
She
sexism at
did the
Riot one.
original, yeah, exactly. I mean, she's publicly denigrated me because she was in that little cult of games journalists. But I think actually due to some
narrow
of
it
the
down
work
a bit
she's
more, will
done,
you?
yeah, I know, yeah. But actually,
which,
now
by the
I think
way,
due to some of the work
for those of you who don't know, she publicly denigrated Richard for shouting her out and her good work.
They shouted her out and said she should have been nominated for the award I won. And she said,
And
keep
she was
my
like,
name
"Fuck
out
you."
your goddamn mouth. Like,
By the way,
fucking Will
he
Smith.
actually did, unironically,
Yeah,
do the
literally
Will
said-
Smith years earlier, but when he was doing something nice, like
I know. This is what I mean. Well, but trust me,
I love it.
cults will never be satisfied with any of the outsiders. You have to be in or you're out. But anyway, like, listen, I think at some point she got cast out from that clique as well because of the type of work she does. She's a very good investigative journalist. And we're lucky to have her pay attention to esports. Honestly,
Careful, she's
got
gonna. If you say more nice things, she's just gonna insult you again, Richard.
Oh yeah, true.
I know. Well,
Keep my name out your motherfucker.
No, we're on kind of semi-speaking terms. Like, whenever she does a good story, I'll say like, that's a banger, well done. And I don't know if that's like maybe she thinks that's condescending in the back of her mind. I don't know, but I'm just trying to be nice. I'm a nice guy. But anyway, contrary to popular opinion. But anyway, she did a great one. She got a great get with the Riot Esports Network, which was obviously going to be called REN. And they've been developing this for 6 years. They wanted to build a streaming rival to Twitch, which of course is the wet dream of every games developer, isn't it? They all want, fuck Twitch. How dare they make money streaming our games? But God, we've got to keep letting them stream our games because we actually realize it's great advertising for our games. But only if we were Twitch, if only we built that proprietary technology. God damn, because games developers can never let anyone else have a W. We could have done that. Why didn't you then, dickhead? You know what I mean? It's like all the others, like all the games developers. Yeah, Steam, it's not fair. Why didn't you build it then, you silly cunt? It's fucking so puerile. But anyway, so Riot Esports Network was being developed for 6 years. It was going to stream all of their games on it, all of their ancillary content. It was going to have like a Netflix element, to it where you could watch VODs and all of that. They've been developing it ever since they fucked up the BAMTech deal, which was going to do all of this for them. Again, that was one of mine, not one of our spoils. They fucked up the BAMTech deal, and ever since then, they've been developing their own stuff because it's crazy to me to think about. You have all of this content, all of this lore, all of this shoulder content. You've got a production team that makes, content, and you've never thought about having your own platform to broadcast it and to curate it. That is madness. So they have put 6 years of resources into developing this and cancelled. They've just cancelled it and pulled the plug. It's a disaster. But again, just before I tagged you guys in, I think this is indicative of the fact they're going to outsource their esports. They don't need a platform anymore.
Oh, I have an even better theory.
Go on, hit me with it.
All right, so let's give some background on this for people who don't know. And I'm just going to read the first. Now, I have known that this has been in development for a very long time. Like Richard said, 6 years or however long it was. I've been hearing about this for years and years and years and years and years at this point. The first time,
by the way, as a quick aside before we start, Monty, I will just say I do appreciate that even in the name of their projects, they always copy Monte Cristo. Because if you don't know, REN was the shortened version tag of Renegades. Just put that out there.
That's
just
true.
throw that out there.
That's true.
Put that out there.
That's actually why they got rid of it. Shit. Kind of a W for Monty.
John Needham, the plastic executive at the, if you've seen him on video, when I say plastic, what that means. The plastic.
Mate, he looks like an actual character from fucking Thunderbirds. Like, hi, I'm here to tell you about the great future of Riot Games and how it's all everything's going up, and I'm on the great glass elevator with you. Like, fucking hell, mate. He's not real. He's not a real person. He's a sim.
He may have been in too many Los Angeles clinics. Just going to put that out there.
Hey, listen, you can fucking share one of their business cards with me.
Here's the thing. Factually, he's not full of shit. He has colonic irrigation every week. So, not true. Actually, not true. Monty.
So John Needham, the president of esports at Riot Games, Mr. President, by the way, the person in charge of all of these layoffs, where he doesn't seem to know what anybody in his division does, as far as we can tell. He posted a blog. So this was less than a year ago. It was in April 2023, where it is titled, and it will link it below, Building the Future of Sport at Riot Games.
Yes.
April 19th, 2023.
Sport as well, not even just sport.
Of course. Yeah, because they always just have to claim that they're bigger than they are. That's the Riot way. So
they should just literally have been called Reinventing the Wheel by Riot. Like they're so ridiculous, aren't they?
So I'm gonna read the part of this that this is the first time they had publicly mentioned this platform, even though people in the industry had known that this was being built for a very long time. And I'm going to skip down. There's a bunch of stuff in this article, but why they are releasing this information at this time is because this is when last year was the start of esports winter at this time period, and the teams are freaking out. They are freaking out about their loss of revenue, about the drying up of venture capital, and they are petitioning the hell out of Riot to actually fucking do something. And so the result is they released this blog post. And one of these things, I'm going to read.
Which in many ways is how Riot does. Please do something. I will release a blog post. Don't say I never did anything for you. Go on.
So I'm going to read parts of this that have to deal with the platform.
Come on.
So
this is going to have aged so poorly. I can already tell. It's going to be amazing. Come on,
it really has.
So for those, also, I have to provide some additional context. On lolesports.com, if you are logged in with your League of Legends account, they do an embed of Twitch or YouTube. You kind of switch between them or other players. And if you watch on their website, they will give you drops, especially at like Worlds and stuff like that. So it incentivizes people, even though technically they are watching on Twitch, like on the Twitch player, on the YouTube player, they are on the website, okay? So that's how they have the statistics that they're going to present to you here. Event passes and drops are very popular with our players. As a result, for most major esports events, as much as 40% of our Western viewership is via Riot's Watch platform. We're now developing our Watch platform to go even further and evolve it into an advanced commerce platform that we can use to sell digital goods and services directly to our fans through our broadcasts. Ultimately, we want to combine this commerce capability with everything we know about our players to sell digital goods and services that are valuable to a viewer. Here's my sidebar. This is what teams want. They want a cut of the pie of digital goods sold because previously in this article, they mentioned that media rights have not developed like they had in traditional sports, which is the reason why they are saying this piece now. Imagine a pro player in a competition chooses a champion you play in League. Boom. We send you a prompt through the Watch platform to buy a skin you don't own for that champion. Another hypothetical example is when we see that one of our players watches every T1 match but hasn't purchased the T1 fan pack, which includes an in-game T1 emote, a T1 summoner icon, and the T1 fan pass, granting them access to a special chat channel with other T1 fans and the team directly. When this player logs in
directly, okay, keep going.
Keep going. When this player logs in for the next T1 match, we promote the T1 fan pack with details on how the revenue will be shared with the team. This way, esports fans will be able to support their team directly with their purchases. Digital esports content is some of Riot's best-selling game content. 3 out of the top 6 selling LoL skins of all time are esports themed. These are the world skins, in case you guys don't know. A significant percentage of these sales went back to teams and players. This is also true. Riot they do share the revenue from the world skins. In 2022, Valorant sold 42 million. Now they're mentioning Valorant because it's the future of sport, not just LoL. Sold 42 million of the VCT Champion skin pack and distributed half of that revenue to the teams who competed in the tournament. Dota 2 is the international. Now they're bringing up non-Riot games, so we'll just skip that. However, making in-game content is challenging with a game as big and global as League of Legends. With LoL esports, Riot has struggled to make digital in-game esports content at a scale that moves the needle revenue-wise for all the teams in our ecosystem. This is the downside of having nearly 100 teams in our LoL esports ecosystem and one of the most popular PC games globally. This is Riot being disingenuous, by the way. They could literally just do the teams that paid franchise fees, and they would cut that number in half. So, like, they say 100, but come on.
I mean, essentially, Monty, they're acting like to make a skin for Cloud9, which would make everyone money, they have to make the worst CB LOL team have a skin as well.
Exactly.
Like, totally ridiculous
or like
premise.
The Turkish League, or, you know, fuck it.
Exactly.
Who knows?
By the way, I do love the fact that from so many years of being conditioned to know that Riot are scumbags, I can't even hear like what's fairly neutral language without having bias. Like, even though what they're describing with the client there is actually in theory what you would want. Like, if you're a fan, you would want them to recommend like the new skin you might like. But the problem is when I hear that, I just hear it like, maybe you're a T1 fan, but you haven't yet bought the new skin. It's like, what's that, comrade? You haven't purchased the new Faker skin from Worlds? Like, even that's like a sinister aspect to it. It's like,
that's basically the meat and potatoes of what they were doing. So to recap, basically they were not going to, let's be clear, they were never going to make the Riot platform exclusive for esports viewing. They were never going to make it a pay on demand or subscription service that you had to be in there. My impression is that it was going to be embedded in LoL esports, considering 40% of people watched there. And so they would use that 40% of viewership to drive digital goods sales because they would have access to your account. So if, for example, you're watching LEC and Caps is playing in a Kali skin, and it's like they can tell you play a Kali a lot, but you don't have this skin, they'll send a push notification for you. Maybe here's a sale for this skin. If you buy it within X number of time period of watching this game, perhaps the team gets a cut of that. It's a very good idea.
That is an excellent idea.
It's a great idea. And then also here's the fan pack, and here's some in-game stuff. And we can also have the teams, work with us to help create additional content. So like, is there a chat channel where, the teams can deploy team-based resources to have players potentially or personalities that are associated with the teams hop in there and chat with you, or they at least have an opportunity to develop their own fan cultures and in kind of private channels and everything like that. That could be really interesting. All of this sounds great. It all sounds great.
And it could have been an enormous moneymaker, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do people buy a lot of in-game emotes for teams? Like, I don't know the answer to that question. Now, with the teams, I can tell you want are skins. That's what they want, just straight up. So I know that they were maybe a little bit excited about this, but not like super excited. They're not like, oh, I get a G2 skin or, a fucking Gen G skin now or whatever, right? But this was the promise that Riot made to the teams. They said, you guys are right. We didn't do media rights. We're building this new thing. We are going to have it here for you, and we're going to try this new way of selling, digital media goods to help you guys out. Now that is completely fucking gone. And so I don't know what Riot is going to do now. There are ownership meetings for partnership teams next week. So it's going to be real interesting.
Okay. Where's that? Jonestown.
So I mean, there are ownership meetings coming up where I imagine that this is going to be a very hot topic of conversation about like, okay, you promised us this thing, you publicly stated you were doing this thing to support us for media rights, and then now what? What's the next plan? And to go on to your theory, Richard, I am beginning to wonder if what is actually going on and the reason why this was canceled is because here's my take on the best way to handle esports going forward. We've all complained a million times on this show. Fans don't pay anything, blah, 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 blah. But how do you set up a subscription service that actually entices people into a product that has value right now? And as far as I can tell, the best possible product would be a centralized esports platform where all of the major developers agree to put their esports content on it. So you actually pay a streaming service $10 a month, but you get the international, you get LoL Worlds, you get the CS majors, you get the, SI from Rainbow Six. You get absolutely everything. So we get Ubisoft, Valve, Riot, Activision Blizzard. We get all the big players on board. And what they do is that they sign an agreement where they divide revenue based off of watch time so that they are actually incentivized, and you get the teams on board too. So you're incentivized. The teams are incentivized to put premium documentary content on here. the publishers are incentivized. Oh, we're going to do, of course, the hot thing that everybody says right now is Drive to Survive, but for Counter-Strike, or Drive to Survive, but for League of Legends. High production value documentaries, and you make it. Maybe you put Arcane on there instead of Netflix. You know what I mean? That would probably be a huge draw for a lot of people.
That would be a good idea.
You put fictional content. Why hasn't fucking Overwatch made an animated show yet? Blows my mind that has not happened.
I've seen some Overwatch animations.
I'm sure you have, Richard.
Logically, you'd have to have an 18+ rating to fit the law, Monty. Logically. And also, bizarrely, it can't be distributed in countries like Middle East and stuff.
Or Korea.
Yeah,
all right. Anyway, jokes aside, but it would make a lot of sense for this thing to exist. Because they can't sell media rights, and this is a way, it's even better than media rights in many ways, because you can still potentially have advertisers or sponsorship partners, as you do right now, but you're actually getting a high amount of dollar value per user. And some people are like, well, I wouldn't fucking watch esports if it was, paid. Motherfuckers, you have a Netflix account. You are definitely going to pay $10 a month or $5 a month for this streaming platform. Besides, they're going to start it cheap. Everybody, they're going to start it so cheap. They're going to start at $5, and then they're just going to start ratcheting it up and up and up and up. That's how it always goes.
Though, Monty, while I agree there should have been by now a fuck Twitch flicks for esports, the nominal notion that games developers would ever even acknowledge other people's games.
But Richard,
how do you get that over the line?
Who are our friends who are currently creating a massive multi-esport singular event in Riyadh?
The Saudis, maybe.
Yes, sure.
So, but what if the Saudi investment fund was able to pay for this entire project and then link it to guaranteed developer payments? So they set a minimum guarantee or a floor of payments to the developers, and then anything above that is just gravy for the developers on top of that.
I can tell you for sure that one of the problems that a lot of these games developers have is the sort of sheer hubris of being able to sort of process that other people might like other games, or indeed that their own games might be gateways to other games.
Sure.
And so
I hear you. I hear you about the problems.
I genuinely believe someone like Mark Merrill, given his past history particularly, would, let's say Valve come along for the ride. The idea that fuck Twitch flicks has the Dota International on there and Dota content and the Dota animated series, and it's just there adjacent to League of Legends content. Nah.
Well, I'm going to provide some counter arguments for you. So what if everybody signs on except Riot Games, and then all of a sudden they start monetizing esports considerably better and people are paying for the subscription service? What happens, Richard, if it's purely a cost benefit analysis and the Saudis come and they say, well, we will pay for all of the production costs of LEC and LCS, but you need to be on this platform. Now,
well, I'll tell you what happens. I'll tell you exactly what happens. The same thing that happens every time there's a fucking fragile alliance in this business. And I'm not just talking about esports here. I am talking about the wider games industry. Here's what happens. They start asking for the numbers. And it's probably in the deal that, whoever's running this, the Saudis, whoever in this fictitious scenario, they have to give them the numbers. We're all partners, right? The rising tide raises all ships. And then Riot Games start looking at the numbers and they go, holy shit, League of Legends is crushing every other fucking sport here. So what I reckon what we do is, once the contract runs out, we just build our own proprietary technology, and they're back to making REN again, because now you've got a totally free proof of concept run, and you put it all across. How do I know that this would happen? It's already
possible.
Happened. If you, think about what Disney did, Netflix. They have them brilliant shows on there, like everybody fucking loved Punisher and everybody loved Daredevil. Now you can't have that anymore. We're building our own. That's coming to Disney.
I'm not talking about what's going to happen in 10 years. I'm talking about what might happen in 3 years. You could absolutely be right that this is the end result of that, right? I'm not saying I know anything about this happening because I do not, but I can see that there's a world because look at what is happening. Activision Blizzard has punted CDL and Overwatch over to EFG right now. EFG owns the majority of the Counter-Strike circuit. They will produce Dota events moving forward.
Yeah.
If they also operate the League of Legends or Valorant or circuits or both, it makes the most sense for them to have a platform that unifies all of this content. And literally, they are the only people with enough money that they can throw fuck you money at this product, at all of these companies, all of these other companies. They're the only people with enough money to actually convince the devs to sign on to something like this.
Here's the question, Monty. Essentially, I can resolve the conflict between you and Richard by asking you this question. Do you actually think that Riot will ever give up control if they have to? Like, to me, Monty, the analogy is obvious. It's Solomon and the woman who had the baby and said that the other woman had stolen it. And the premise goes, if you remember, the way Solomon solves this problem is he shrewdly, because he understands human nature, says, right, well, since there's a dispute, it's only hearsays to, it's your word against hers as to whose child it is. We will chop the child in half and you can each have half. And then what it reveals is the woman who goes, yes, fine, do it, obviously wasn't the real mother, whereas the one who goes, no, just let her have it then, shows that she was the real. Essentially, in this analogy, Monty, I think Riot would actually just choose to kill the child outright and no one have it, rather than have to ever share or give it up. Like that. Listen, maybe we're being cynical, but you don't get that sense from them. Because to me, I think, look, it wouldn't. Now they're in a position where they negatively could lose loads of money. To me, the thing before that they did was they just had a million chances to make infinite money and said no by doing exactly this: refusing to ever cede control, don't ever let other people do things there better than you are, don't actually acknowledge you're not good in certain areas and level up. So to me, I'm just a bit cynical that sadly, I've always wanted to believe when the backs was against the wall they might fix up, but it doesn't feel like they will.
Look, I think it's just math, man. Like if the Savvy Gaming, which is the parent company of EFG that is owned by the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, if they are willing to pay the entire cost of LoL esports in the West plus MSI and Worlds and maybe China and Korea too, I don't know. I don't see a world where
hundreds of millions of dollars here, right? Massive amount.
Yes. If they are willing to front this, then I think all bets are off, because if you have checks and balances from Riot's side of quality control over the broadcast and you maintain that tight grip, but you just let somebody else paying for it, it's still the same marketing tool, but it now costs you no dollars or significantly reduced dollars. And also, it lifts the burden of you having to deal with all of these teams that are constantly upset with you because of all of the problems with the ecosystem, because those teams are just suckling at the Saudi teat at that point in time, taking that same money. This is their new path to sustainability, is that they are just getting paid money to be part of this operated circuit and then to participate in the Esports World Cup and other events.
It is hilarious how every path to sustainability is always some super wealthy sugar daddy with dirty money underwriting the industry forever, because they'll never leave. They'll never get bored
because
just quickly.
The joke is the Orwellian term sustainability never means sustainability. It means temporary anti-sustainability and just a big pile of money, basically. Always does, Richard, you're right.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.